that Texan? We're going to give you that answer at the end of today's show. A Texans legend is joining the coaching staff along with DeMeco Ryans. Some pretty big news. We're going to be going over some training camp news and notes towards the end of today's show. And if you know who this is, let me know down in the comment section. Name that Texan as we get rolling into today's news. The Texans the other day signed tight end Eric Tomlinson to the 90-man roster, adding to this tight end depth chart. Should be a rotation piece, and obviously a corresponding move had to happen with the signing of Eric Tomlinson, and that was waiving linebacker Ian Swinson. Some back end of the roster moves done by the Texans going into training camp. I really think it's just another body to have at the tight end position. As we look at Eric Tomlinson's career stats, 27 receptions, 280 yards, 10.4 yards per catch, and 3 touchdowns. Nothing that makes you go, wowza. But, like I said, he's another body for the Texans to have at training camp. Somebody else for Davis Mills, C.J. Stroud to throw the ball to, another tight end to add to Dalton Schultz, Tegan Quatoriano, Brevin Jordan, Mason Schrank, and now Eric Tomlinson. And, this tight end room has gone through quite the turnover this offseason, especially with adding Dalton Schultz, the former Dallas Cowboy. I really think Tegan's going to have a decent year as well. But, from last year to this year, the tight end room has drastically improved, in my opinion. I think Dalton Schultz, even though he's not flashy, he's not going to be, a Travis Kelce, George Kittle type tight end. I still believe he's a top 10 tight end. He's a great safety blanket to have for a young quarterback. And I think, personally, I would give this Texans tight end room probably a B+ going into this season, but I want to hear from you guys at home. What do you think about the Texans tight end room? I think it's improved drastically from last season. And, you still have Brevin Jordan. He's got a lot to prove this coming season. But what do you guys think at home? Grade this Texans tight end room A, B, C, D, or F. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So my eyes, they're going to be down there in the comment section looking for your grades of the Texans tight end room. And going on to our next story, Bleacher Report, 10 bold predictions. One of them, Houston is a sneaky playoff contender. I've been telling y'all, watch out for these boys down in H-Town. This is what BR had to say on the Texans' playoff chances. No team had a more transformative offseason than the Houston Texans. After churning through 3 retreads in the 3 seasons since Bill O'Brien was fired, the team finally seems to have found a competent head coach in DeMeco Ryans. The former San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator and Texans linebacker will provide the spark on the sidelines that the club has sorely lacked in recent years. The Texans may not be a Super Bowl team just yet, but they'll make more noise than many expect this coming year and contend for a playoff spot. And I've been saying, a lot of people, they got their pillows out, they got their blankets ready because they're asleep. They're asleep on the Houston Texans. They think they're going to be the worst team in the AFC South. Not so fast, sweetheart. I think the Texans are going to surprise a lot of people this year. A lot of turnover from last year into this season. This is not the same Texans team we've seen the past 2 seasons. This is not the same Texans team that blew the #1 pick in the last game of last season. This is a brand new team. They made a splash hire with DeMeco Ryans, and they made some splash moves this offseason. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, you want to make a splash into the fall for Texans regular season action? No better way to do that than with this Texans polo pack on sale now. I was going through with our friends at Fanatics to find the best deals, and I'm telling you, I think I found the best one. This Texans polo pack is 40% off right now. I think I might go snag me one. If you want yours as well, go to chatsports.com/Texans polo. Hey, you want to get outfitted with the best Texans gear to get ready for the season? No better way to do that than with our friends at Fanatics. Like I said, if you want the deal, chatsports.com/Texans polo. Now, going back to, some of the moves the Texans made this offseason, free agency, not a lot of splash signings past Dalton Schultz, Jimmy Ward, but a lot of good depth brought into this team that didn't have a lot last year. Like I said, Dalton Schultz, Jimmy Ward, two of the top signings. And then you go Sheldon Rankins. The defensive tackle position needed to be addressed, and they did that in free agency. Denzel Perryman adding some veteran presence to the linebacking room. Devin Singletary adding a 1-2 punch with Dameon Pierce. And Robert Woods, Noah Brown adding to a wide receiver room that desperately needed some help. I think the Texans did a really good job in free agency, filling their needs, filling places that they were really weak in last season. And then you go to the Texans draft. They had 9 draft picks, and I think they spent them really well. Obviously, making a huge move at the top of round 1, trading for that 3rd pick to draft Will Anderson Jr., the edge rusher out of Alabama. You also, obviously, at the top of the round, got C.J. Stroud, your QB1 of the future, Juice Scruggs, in the 2nd round, filling that center position. That was a huge need for the Texans this offseason. And then, kind of filling out your roster. You got Tank Dell. Everybody's excited to see what the H-Town kid can do at the wide receiver position. Henry To'o, a great linebacker at Alabama. Can he translate to the NFL game? And then more, depth pieces. Dylan Horton, Jarrett Patterson, Xavier Hutchinson. Watch out for that kid. I mean, he is a really dynamic wide receiver out of Iowa State, and Brandon Hill out of Pittsburgh. And, stuff like this is why you need to subscribe to the channel, because we're bringing you Texans news, Texans rumors on the daily. You don't want to be that guy at the water cooler who doesn't know what he's talking about because he didn't watch Texans today. And it's simple as going down there and clicking that subscribe button right now. And it costs, let me check really quick, hold on. Yeah, it's free. It's 100% free, so go down and click that subscribe button right now for free Texans coverage all season long. Now, the moment that everybody's been waiting for, some training camp takeaways from yesterday and the day before as the Texans get on the practice field. First and foremost, we got to talk about my guy, C.J. Stroud. Just got paid this offseason and, signed the rookie deal right before training camp, 4 years, $36.3 million. A signing bonus of $23.38 million, all up front, and fully guaranteed contract. Texans don't give those out very often, but obviously for QB1 of the future, it was definitely worth it. You got to lock this guy up, and you got to make this man happy. The one note I would say about C.J. Stroud from yesterday and today going on in training camp as I'm following along is he's been splitting reps with Davis Mills with the first team, which should be expected, trying to acclimate him to the NFL game, trying to acclimate him to, this step up in competition. Davis Mills has more experience. He's going to be rotating in with the ones with C.J. Stroud. Don't be surprised if Davis Mills gets a lot of reps with the ones during preseason games as well. The other note that I wanted to add to Texans training camp is Steven Nelson, somebody who's been beefing with Nick Caserio. If you've been following along on Twitter, there's been kind of a beef between him and the Texans GM. He reported for camp yesterday, and I think it's a smart move. Nelson wants a contract. He wants a contract extension as he's on the last year of his deal, and the only way he can do that is to play. And he needs to get out there regardless of how he feels about Nick Caserio. If he feels slighted, the Texans added cornerbacks this offseason in Shaq Griffin and, other players as well, to where it's pushing Steven Nelson to get out there and say, hey, I need to earn my roster spot. And I think that's the exact reason why he showed up to camp yesterday. A lot of people were thinking he might hold out. No, he was at camp yesterday. And if you need something to brighten your day, this is it right here. My guy, John Metchie III, back on the practice field. Everybody give a hand up. Spam your 8s down in the comments. Metchie was battling leukemia last season, all throughout last year. Cleared to play, good to go, 100%. So glad to see number 8 on the field. I know everybody's really excited to see what he can do, but more along with that, the human element. I'm just really happy that this young man is healthy and he is recovered from his bout with leukemia. I'm really excited to see what he can do for the Texans moving forward. And as I teased at the beginning of the show, some of you might have gotten it down in the comment section. Who's that Texan? It's Jonathan Joseph, former cornerback for your Houston Texans. He's actually joining the coaching staff along with DeMeco Ryans this season. He's going to be helping, obviously, with the cornerbacks. Great move by DeMeco, bringing in some former Texans, some former guys who have done it in the NFL to kind of help these young guys along. You know, you got Derek Stingley at the cornerback position. He needs to grow in his second season. No better way to do that than to bring a guy like Jonathan Joseph in to kind of teach him the tricks of the trade. And that's going to be it for my show today. Like I said, if you haven't already subscribed, what are you doing? You made it to the end of the show. We must be doing something right. So go down and hit that sub button if you want Texans news and rumors on the daily.